So you've made a tabletop role-playing game, and your friends love it, people you know love it, but you're having a hard time reaching people who may want to buy the book from you. If you plan on selling a book, it's all about your branding. Hey, my name is Vase. I'm the lead designer of the Left for the Vultures role-playing game, and today we're going to be talking about branding and how that impacts the selling of your tabletop role-playing game. If you're making a tabletop role-playing game just for fun and distributing it for free, most of this is not going to apply to you, although it may still help get the word out about your game and get more people interested in even trying it out. So even if you're not selling it, this may be some information you may want to consider. There are three aspects to the branding of your game that's going to help you sell more books. Number one is going to be the art from your book. Number two is going to be the name of your game. And number three is going to be your tagline. So all this combined is the messaging that you're portraying to customers in an instant as to what your game is all about. And it will generate interest to the right audience. And they're going to be opening your book more often and trying to learn how to play the game. These three things combined are the messaging of your game, and it's what tells customers in an instant, without them even having to really think about it, what your game is all about, what the tone of your game is, what the style of your game is, and what they should expect to be experiencing when they open up that book, sit at a table, and play the game with their friends. Now, if none of this messaging comes together properly, then people are going to be less likely to open your book and be interested in your game. You want to target your market properly by doing these three things. Let's start with art. Art instantly tells your customers the tone of the game. They buy the game based on that. Nothing sells books more than art. That is fact. Now, the art inside your book is also important, but your cover art is by far the most important because that's going to be the main thing that's going to send a message to your customers. This is the best that we have to show you what our game is about. In other words, you may have the best rules, the greatest game ever made in the history of mankind, but people aren't going to open that book and read it. They're not going to learn the rules if the art doesn't grab their attention. Let's go over some books and some tabletop role-playing games and their cover art and see if we can figure out what the games are all about. We'll start with Morkborg. So this art in this book is very hardcore looking. It's a skeleton. The type of art kind of reminds me of a death metal cover, so it's definitely a very heavy metal feeling. And when I think heavy metal, I think brutal, and I think, bloody, and that is exactly what the game delivers. So their messaging is on point with that. Then we have Delta Green. This game is about conspiracy, government conspiracy, in addition, or in a world where there are Lovecraftian horrors that are kind of hidden in the shadows. So the game's true tone is the actual conspiracy part of it. You are a government agent, but you're kind of in the shadows and nobody knows who Delta Green is. It's kind of a secret organization. So it's a very clandestine type feel, and I think this cover delivers that as well. Next, we have the Marvel Multiverse role-playing game. You've got a bunch of superheroes flying at you from the book cover, and it's very colorful, very bright. You see a lot of different types of superheroes. This delivers on exactly what the game is about. Next, we have Symbaroum. This is a game by Free League Publishing. It is kind of a dark fantasy, kind of gritty, dark game where the world is kind of ending. It's really cool, and I think you get that feeling from the cover. It's very grim, very bleak, but it still tells you that is kind of a medieval fantasy type of game. Next, we have Pathfinder. This cover is very action-packed, so you have a lot of heroes fighting a dragon, so you know that this is going to be a high-action, very intense combat type of game. Again, medieval fantasy, and I think it delivers on that. Next up is Biomancer. This game is not quite released yet. It's in playtest, and I really, really love the cover of this book because it sells exactly what this game is. I mean, if you're looking at this cover, this person is just going through some transformation and it's horrific. So it delivers on horror, but also just some kind of mutation. And that is what the game is about. You get all that just from this image, and it delivers exactly what the game delivers exactly what the cover shows. Next, we have Cult. If you see this cover, you see kind of an angel looking thing, but it's something is off and dark about it. It gives this feeling of horror, but more like Hellraiser type horror. It's that really dark and just, demonic almost, hell-based. And again, the game delivers exactly what the cover promises. Dragonbane. Dragonbane is a game from Free League Publishing. It is a medieval fantasy game, but it is not just medieval fantasy. You could see by the drawings, the artwork is very kind of quirky almost. The characters have very sharp edges. They look almost like, if you've ever seen Hercules from Disney, the Hercules cartoon, that's the impression that this gives me in terms of the characters and how they are. There's just something kind of like dark and uncaring, but also kind of funny looking in a way. And that is exactly what the game is. I mean, it is mirth and mayhem. So you have mayhem and you have just like craziness. And the game is deadly and brutal, but it's also got some funny moments. And again, the cover delivers. So with all these examples, I think you kind of get where I'm getting at here. Use a really, not necessarily your best art piece, but the best art piece that represents exactly what the game is about all in one go. That is key for anyone walking down a store or even on a website and they see the cover of your book, they're going to be like, oh, what's this? And then they're going to open it up and look inside. And the first thing they're going to look inside for is the artwork inside the book. And that's why I say that art inside a book is also very important for delivering your message. Now let's go ahead and go into the second factor for the branding of your game. This is the name of your game. It's very important because when people talk about your game, they're not always going to have the artwork visible when they're talking to others about your game. This is why this is such an important pillar, because the art is going to grab people who are looking online or looking in a store, but the name is going to grab people when they tell their friends about the game. If I go and tell my friend, oh yeah, I got this game, it's called Pickle, and the game is about, hardcore, brutal combat, then they're going to be like, what the hell is this Pickle? I don't want to play that. That sounds weird, right? So you want to make sure the name of the game aligns with the tone of the game. So some names that I find really good, Call of Cthulhu. Obviously, most people are familiar with the Lovecraftian mythos and they know what Call of Cthulhu is, so you know right away it's a Lovecraftian game. Draw Steel. Some people had a problem with it, but honestly, Draw Steel delivers on exactly what the game is about. It's a heroic fantasy game. You draw steel when you're about to get into combat, so Draw Steel is just action-based and it sells exactly what that game is about. There's another game called Adventure Conqueror King. Awesome name for a game because literally, I mean, they took that from Conan because Conan was the Adventurer, Conqueror, and King. But yeah, it's basically telling you you're going to start as an adventurer. You're then going to become a warlord and conquer other rival kingdoms, and then you become a king. You become a king at the end, and now you're dealing more with kind of like the that aspect of it, not so much going out on adventures. And that's what the game is about. So it's a great name for the game. You have other names that are now based on a setting. So like Symbaroum. I don't care for that name that much because nobody knows what that is, right? So it's a difficult name to parse when you're trying to tell your friends what it is. You have Biomancer. That's a great name because Biomancer gives this image of it's something biological, but Mancer means like you manipulate it, right? So like Biomancer is a great name because it kind of gives the idea of what the game is about. Dragonbane is a decent name. It's got dragons in it, and Bane means it's, someone that it's either a curse or someone who is or something that is anti-dragon, right? Dragonbane actually refers to the dragons and banes or whatever. When you roll a die, you roll 20 or a 1, though it's a dragon or a bane, but that's why it's called Dragonbane. But you wouldn't know that unless you played the game, right? But the name Dragonbane still sells the fact that it's about dragons in fantasy. Black Flag, that was the original name for Tales of the Valiant from Kobold Press. I thought Black Flag was a fantastic name. It just gave this symbol of rebellion. Yeah, maybe kind of made some people think about pirates, but at the same time, Black Flag didn't necessarily have to do with that. It's kind of like rebellion, where a white flag is where you give in and you give up. A black flag means, no, we're not giving up, we're fighting on, right? So I thought it was a great name, but unfortunately they decided to change it to Tales of the Valiant. To be fair, Tales of the Valiant does tell what the game is a little bit more than Black Flag, but it's not as catchy of a name. One name that I don't necessarily care for is DC-20. Now, before you guys start clickety-clacketing, I know there's a lot of DC-20 fans. I'm not saying anything about the game itself being bad. I haven't played it. The game's not out yet. There's just playtests still right now. So I'm not talking about the game, and I'm not insulting you personally. But the name DC-20, I mean, say what you will, it's a terrible name. Let's just call it that. Whatever you do when you're making your game, do not do this. Do not do inside jokes. Do not do inside information or little nods to things where others who are not in the know are not going to know what it is. because that will ostracize them. It will basically alienate your potential customers. If you're a Dungeon Coach fan and you watch the YouTube channel, you know DC is Dungeon Coach, right? DC 20. But it's a number in the name, which also adds complexity to it. Like, it makes you think about math when you're looking at the cover of that game or looking at the name of the game. It makes you think about math because there's numbers involved. Already bad. Also, DC 20, it's difficulty class, but it's Dungeon Coach. No one knows what DC 20 is. If you've never played a role-playing game before, you definitely don't know what DC 20 is. And you're going to be walking down a store and you're going to see DC 20. What is that? Or you tell your friends DC 20. They're going to be like, what the hell is that? It does not sell the game, right? And then on top of that, you find out that it's some kind of insider knowledge about a YouTube channel. It makes you feel left out. It makes you feel like you're not in the know, and you're like, oh no, this game is just for those people who watch that channel. So again, a lot of people tried to tell the guy to change the name of the game, and he chose not to. He stuck to his guns. I hope they raised a lot of money on Kickstarter, so good for him. But beyond the Kickstarter, if you want to continue selling that game and make it evergreen, I think that it's extremely important for you, and just my recommendation, to not make a game that's got too much insider knowledge or insider info, because you're going to alienate potential customers. The third and final thing that I want to talk about is the messaging, which is kind of your one-liner, your tagline, right? So the tagline of your game is something that you use for marketing, and you want to repeat it over and over to let people kind of ingrain that in their brains when they're thinking about your game. Eventually, the plan is make sure that you say it enough times where when people think about your game, they think of the tagline, because it'll also give them, bring their imagination into exactly what your game is about. We talked about Dragonbane earlier. We said the tagline for Dragonbane is Mirth and Mayhem Role-Playing. So I remember that because they repeat that almost everywhere. And so therefore, I may not know the title Dragonbane, but I know Mirth and Mayhem Role-Playing. And instantly, that's going to tell me, okay, that's what this game is about. Great. Then you have other taglines. Can't think of a ton off the top of my head right now, but like Delta Green is conspiracy. It's something about conspiracy in the modern times or something like that. And it tells you the game is about conspiracy. Delta Green itself is a weird name where it sounds like some government agency, but you're not sure. But at the same time, when you hear the tagline about conspiracy, now you know exactly what the game is about. And then you have Draw Steel. As much as, people have criticized, Draw Steel's tagline has always been something about action, heroic, cinematic role-playing. And, I mean, that's what they're trying to do with their game. I haven't played it, so I don't know if they succeeded. But you know that the game is Draw Steel, and it is about action, heroic, and cinematic gaming. So you want to make sure that when you make your game, that you come up with a tagline that's catchy, short, not too complicated, catchy, but it delivers a message that the name of the game doesn't necessarily deliver, but also the art in the book doesn't necessarily deliver because someone's not always looking at the art. So that message the tagline is extremely important. It's a key third part of the branding of your game. So again, if you plan on selling your game, I highly recommend that you look into branding your game. Don't just shoot from the hip for that, because that is one of the most important things that you can do, is make a cohesive branding message about your game and what it is, so that people are interested and you target the correct market of people who would actually enjoy your game and buy it. Anyways, that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you very much for hanging out. My name is Vase from Left for the Vultures, and make sure you feed the vultures one character at a time. And I'll talk to you guys real soon. Make sure you kill your characters.